welcome back. Welcome to the radio workshop. I am test driving today a replacement camera, so I've no idea how this is going to turn out. However, we'll see as we go along. Today's radio is an original Robert's Rambler. The difference between the original and the Rambler 2, outwardly at least, is the original one has the square wave change buttons, the Rambler 2 has the round ones with the silver tops. Looking at this one, it is particularly dirty. The silver is yellow, nicotine, years of neglect. The top plate absolutely minging. But this came to me. I bought a job lot of 4 radios from a popular online auction site, beginning with E and finishing with Bay. I got the 4 radios for under 19 quid. I got the original Rambler, Robert's Revival R550, which is beautifully working now because I've already sorted that one. That was just a wanted the volume pot switch cleaning and just a general clean all over. That's beautiful now. I've got an R404 to look at, which I'll be looking at later this week, and just swap that over. There, we've got the R404. I've no idea if this is working. I've not had any power on that at all, and one of my favourites really, an R200. I've already put on from my spares a new, well, not new obviously, but a replacement wave change. It came without one on. Obviously there's no handle on here either. I think I have one of those in blue as well, but it's particularly filthy, and I doubt that this will work. It's not been tried. Now, I've bought them for parts or not working. But like I said, the R550, which is the older brother of the R250, which are my favourite radios, it's particularly nice now and working. No battery in there at the minute. It's got a small impression on the grille, which I'll flatten out at a later date. But those are the 4 radios that I've got to tend to so far this week. So, with the Rambler, now in one of Sean's videos he was on about the is it Simple Green Cleaner for degreasing, and he was a bit concerned because it's not really or readily available anymore. You can still get it actually, but it's particularly expensive. So he was asking for recommendations on what else to use, and I've just been into the other side of the workshop this morning because I told him about this stuff. This stuff you get 5 litres for 9 quid at Screwfix. Heavy duty surface cleaner to remove oil, grease, dirt and fuel spills from most hard surfaces. Can be used neat or diluted. I use it both. I use a 60-40 mix for the diluted, 60 water, 40 degreaser, and I also use it neat as well, depending on what I'm actually using it on. It is corrosive, so do wear gloves, but it's really good stuff. So first of all, and for Sean's benefit, I've taken off the bottom plate off the Rambler. It's particularly dirty, and I have some neat in an old spray bottle, and you only need a tiny amount onto the wood and just work it. Just get it actually into to the wood, just rub it round and round and round, and you'll see the wood change colour as the degreaser soaks in. And then I'll only do half of this, and then you can see the difference. So we've got some filth that's come off the bottom, and if I show you now the difference, can you see the two halves? So I've got this half that I've just degreased, and this half that hasn't been. You probably see better from there. So I'll do the other half as well. As I say, it is only a tiny amount that you need. 5 litres will last you years, really. And this side's a lot dirtier. And I've forgotten to put my gloves on. Naughty boy. So I will do that, because this stuff is corrosive. And corrosive equals particularly nasty. And I don't like particularly nasty, so I'll go for the vinyl gloves. Vinyl gloves, 10 a penny. Well, more than 10 a penny, really, if you shop around. So we've got some more of this. It's neat, straight onto the teak base. Now I could remove the rotary wheel as well, you know, just to get underneath. But they're held on with these, and I hate taking these off. So just for the purposes of this one, just for a quick show and tell, there we are. You see what's come off the bottom. And there we go. Much cleaner and ready for some either teak oil or Danish oil or whatever you want to put on it. Teak oil's good enough for the bottom. Danish oil's a bit too showy. You're not going to, you know, whoever ends up with this radio in the future isn't going to be turning it over and going, wow, look at the bottom of that. But yeah, that's that done, degreased, ready for, well, I'll probably give it another degrease once this has dried up. Just to remove any ingrained filth, but it's really particularly good. In fact, I'll do that now while we're still here. Sean did also mention that he uses the green top scourers. I do like to use those as well, but depending on which part of the radio. The bottom of a Rambler, for instance, you can actually feel the grain, and I like that you can feel that the wood's slightly rougher. When you use those Scotch pads, for instance, it does smooth it all off, and it takes a little bit of the magic away, I suppose. In my opinion. There we go, a lot more filth off the bottom of that, and that's clean now. And you know, there's once that actually does dry up, it'll go to a buff lighter colour. So I'll come back to that shortly. So I have actually popped the battery on this, and I'm just looking for where I've put that battery. This radio does actually work, which I was quite surprised at. Like I say, I bought 4 of them for parts are not working. This actually came with a battery in it that expired in 2001, so it has been used, what I would call recently, but not very recently. Obviously 2001 to 2019 we've got potential 18 years worth of non-use there, where the battery's just been left in. So I'm expecting to have to recap everything, but externally it needs all these silver bits. They're all yellow, and you know, it's been in a smoker's room somewhere, probably for, you know, for the life of it. You know, the teak ends are particularly covered and it's particularly sticky. Similarly with the bright work on the front and the Roberts logo, it's very yellow. The front plate, the grille, obviously that's very, very, very marked. I have got a method for making that look a lot better, but given that this one is really quite bad, I may well end up replacing it, but we'll see. If I do my thing with this, you'll see what I do. It just really, I just remove the grille and I mask off the silver parts and then respray the rest of it in black. But that'll be one of the last things that I get round to. So I'm going to take this apart shortly, but before I do, let's just have a listen and see if we do get anything at all. I think the battery is disconnected. No, we're good. Yeah, it was working, and now it's not. Let's try a different battery, maybe. I'll just volt test that one, just bear with me. So we have 9.5 volts in the battery, so the battery's good. There's obviously a problem with the radio. I did connect a battery up to this when it first arrived, just to test, and yeah, it's very loose. Oh, right, the speakers become disconnected inside. If I'm just temporarily, they must have been really loose. Don't know if I can actually reach. Yes, I can. Yeah, that one's fallen off again. Yeah. So there we go. We are actually working.
This is BBC Radio 5 Live, available on the
I do like 5 Live, I could listen to that all day. I have some interest in some things and not a lot of interest in others, but I like listening to it. So, 2 screws on the inside, one on this side, one on that side, just to remove, and then we should be able to disconnect the speaker again and push the radio out of the top of the case. They just need to be loosened off, they don't need to be taken out. Disconnect those speakers again. Speakers. And it should just push out at the top. Oh, that is filthy. I'll pop the case on one side for the moment and we will have a look at the board. So we've got some obviously there's nothing obvious with this, and it will just be a case of there's only a few caps on here to change. The wave change switch is particularly gunked up. Well, I'll just come back to that cleaner for the moment. I'll just take off the brights from the side of the dial, and you can see how particularly grubby these things are. Very yellow. Again, if I get my neat cleaner, just a couple of drops on there, and just give this a quick wipe. Look what's coming off of there. Lovely. All that DNA from all those years ago. And it's ended up being my job to remove it. But this degreaser cleaner, particularly good. Particularly caustic, be very careful, make sure that you do wear gloves, I can't say that enough. And what's actually coming off there is really nasty. Let's put some straight onto the cloth this time. I'm going to get a couple of dropper bottles as well for using this cleaner, because what I find is using a spray bottle you get lots of splashback. But Sean, you wanted to know if anybody else had got any recommendations for what else you could use instead of your simple green. Cracking stuff. £9, 5 litres, last you years. And just after giving it a quick once over, there's still some on the ends there. It's like fat and grease and bleh, horrible. And there we go. If you compare that to the other one, a lot better. And I will use this this degreaser, the screw fix stuff, on a lot of the parts of the radio for cleaning. You know, for physically cleaning the grease and the grime off there, and it really will make it pop. We'll just pop those onto one side for the moment and just take a look at the top plate. Again, particularly grubby. It's going to have to come apart for normal bicentennial cleaning. A lovely condition dial plate. Actually really nice for given its age. Now for cleaning the top of this, I can use the same stuff, but I use the diluted version rather than using the caustic stuff straight onto the dial plate. I don't want to get any of the liquid underneath because it will take off the print from underneath. So I can't put this down on the bench because I've had the cleaner on there already. One of the other things that I do is I use my cheap switch cleaner, spray the bench, give the bench a wipe, and that will take the degreaser away. It's just a cursory thing, makes the bench top clean, and then I can put the dial plate on there. What I do tend to do is cut another piece of cloth. The cloth that I use, this is turning into kind of a top tips video really, isn't it? You know, the cloth that I use, you remember the old hand dryer rolls? Well, I bought a load of these, particularly cheap, and I use it for general cleaning, and I use it for a mat. You can see a little better now how minging that actually is. So I'll use a tiny spot of this. Now I usually use the dilute, but it just gives you an idea, because I do need to dilute some more. You see what's actually coming off the top. I have used, you know, historically, where is it? Sillet Bang degreaser, which is a little less caustic and you can be a little freer and easier with the amount that you apply. But that's been particularly good. If I do half of this, you'll see a massive difference. And it will look beautiful again. I mean, we're kind of getting there now. You can see what's left on there. You can see what's actually come off it. What you can do with whichever cleaner you use is just dab it on and just leave it for a moment. Let it soak through the grease and the grime. Just kind of smear it. Some sellotape on there as well, I think, from about 1960. Don't know if I'll get all of this done all in one fell swoop. All of the cleaning, there's all of the case and the switches and the switch tops, and it is absolutely rancid. Look at what's coming off there. You always need clean little bits of cloth, otherwise you just end up pushing the dirt around. Try not to let it go over the edges or through the holes, because I don't want any of the print lifting from underneath. I'll tend to that sellotape in a moment. No, it's not the best thing to watch a video of somebody cleaning a dial plate, but it's just the difference for minimal effort. Try and lift that sellotape, and I'll probably get some switch cleaner underneath the edge of it, and that should work its way in, and then I should be able to lift it up. And just leave that for the briefest of moments. Find another clean area of cloth. It's not lifting up. You use the edge of the spudger gently to lift the edge of the sellotape up and see if I can peel it away. Because it's really old sellotape, it's really brittle, so it isn't really lending itself to wanting to just lift up and peel away. Maybe I soak some of the degreaser on there. The Sillet Bang this is, not the... It might start to dissolve that bit of sellotape, or at least help to shift it along. I really don't want to scratch this dial plate. It's a really nice one. I really can work some magic with this radio. Now that would have probably otherwise been destined for landfill. There are plenty of holes in the ground, but I never ever like to see radios filling holes in the ground when they are still useful with a little care and attention. It's nearly all off. I'll do that trick again with the cleaner and just soak that on. It's probably 60 years worth of, you know, sellotape adhesion. It's not the easiest stuff to remove. Every now and again with the edge of the spudger I just manage to lift up a little bit. I really, really, really don't want to scratch this there. That's got it off there. So now I should just be able to clean the centuries old adhesive from there, and then give it a wipe with a dry rag. Cut some more of this stuff off my roll. I leave my voltmeter switched on. I did. That was it, just reminding me that it's about to go dead. So yeah, there's still a little bit of that sellotape on there, so I'll work at that just a little bit more. Get some more Silk Bang on it. By Jove, I think we're almost there. Yeah. Dry cloth and friction has removed that now. So there we are. That's a lovely, lovely dial plate now. Bob that on one side, and we will come back to the radio. Just look at all that came off that dial plate. It's horrible, but I'm really pleased it's gone now. So we have, really should get the trader sheet out to look, but 100 UF 25 volts, 470 UF, $220 UF. Yeah, what have I got? Just looking up at my spares. I've got 220, yep. I haven't got any axials. $220 at 10 volts. I've got $220 at 25 volts. Which should just about do it. And 470 at 6.3 volts. I know I've got 470. I use a lot of those with the revivals. I've got 470 at 16 volts. And 220 at 10 volts. Yeah, 220 at 25. So yeah, I think we're good for changing those caps. Just looking, see what other components we've got. It's been a while since I've done an original Rambler. We've got a BF 195D, BF 195C, BF 194A. Oh, there's another cheeky cap hiding under there. I will pull these caps off and test them and Might just put some normal electrolytics on in favour of axials, which I don't think I have in the right denominations. However, let's fire up the desolderer and the soldering iron and dig some of those caps out. Let's see. I've got some short ones of the 470s, so they should sit quite nicely. There's short 470 16 volt. And 220 10 volts. I've got 220 25 volts. Again, short. Don't think the legs will be long enough actually to stretch, so I might need one with longer legs. There we go. That's those two. Do 220 and to see. I really should get the trader sheet in. 220 again at 10 volts. For that with the longer legs, and 100 at 25 volts. Let's see. Physically too big. Looks like I haven't got 100. I'm going to have to order some of those in. Let's have a look in my other spares. Let's see if I've robbed any recently. Well, yeah, none with legs that are going to be long enough. Dropped random caps all over the bench. Mm, 125 volts. I've got 100 at 63 volts. Oh, 100. There we go. Oh, I have one. 100 at 25 volts. Got 4 caps there, and whatever that one is there. Ten at 25 volts. Yeah, plenty of those. So I do have all of the caps. I'll just move my extractor back. I will be using that and it will get noisy, I do apologise. Take off these caps and test them with the peak. Might just have to pause a moment. I did take the peak up to the house. Did I put the peak back? Did I bring the peak back? Yes, I did. So, pop those caps on one side for a moment, bring out the peak, and I was just going to lift a leg and in fact I'll see if I can test these in circuit, see if it gives us a rough idea. Analysing. That's gone high, that cap is reading 705, I'll test that out of circuit as well. That should be 470, it's reading 705. And this one should be 100. That's 132. That one's actually okay. And this one should be 220. Just while I'm waiting for the irons to fire up. In circuit leaky. I know it's in circuit. So I'll pull that one. Well, we're pulling them all anyway, but and the next one. In circuit leaky. I'll pull those two first. I might not have to cap it all, but I will cap it all anyway. And the last one, 12 UF. 2 beeps, so it's good. I think that's a 10 UF at 25 volts. So yeah, I think we're hot enough now on the desoldering gun. So I'll take out those 2 very suspect ones first. I'll take them both out at the same time. That's the peak going off. Solder again. Getting all knotted up here. One of the 220s. The second one. It's quite a tidy board this as well for an old set. It's quite clean inside. It's just the outside that's mean. Keep going short, I keep forgetting. I'm still no good at these videos. We'll get there one day. So, peak. Switch them on. $293, that should be 220. 2 beeps, so it is okay-ish. 285. It's a little bit on the high side. So I'll replace those with the 220 25 volt. And flush with the board. And the next one, please. Both of these 220s first, and then come on to the soldering iron, tip cleaned. How much longer I'll continue to be able to do this, I don't know, because I do have a medical issue. I have I think they call it an essential tremor, but it's both hands, and it does concern me, especially when I'm doing fine soldering. I think we'll get a few more years out of me yet. Snips and chop those legs. At the moment I'm just shaky. Yeah, it's been like that for several months. Had it checked out. But I only really need to worry when I start to shake, rattle and roll. Shaking's fine. I can just about cope with it, but it will get worse as the years go on. Oh, to be young again. So that's those two 220s in. I'm very tempted to connect up a speaker and just see. I am changing the other caps anyway, but there's my trusty test speaker gone. I've moved it. It's a very inopportune time, and I actually do need it. I know where it is as well, and I can't get to it. Let me see if I can pinch one from a different set that I've got in pieces. I've got an Roberts R757 here in pieces, and I'm going to pinch the speaker out of that just for testing purposes. Oh, this one would be in particularly tight, wouldn't it? There we go. Test speaker and some beans. Let's make sure that get those on
doing what they've done. A huge moment for the end.
Yeah, we are still working, so that's a little good news. I do like to test sometimes as I go along.
Now independent MPs, but nonetheless.
Yeah, that's really good so far. Keep that test speaker on one side. The battery out of the way. Now we're doing recording wise. Yeah, we're still going. Remember, this is a different camera. This is my old camcorder. It's a JVC Averio HDD 30GB, 37 hours of recording time. Just rather than dispose of it through the normal channels, I thought I'd repurpose it for doing this. So I don't know quite what it's going to turn out like, but we're trying it, we're testing it, we're giving it a go. Those wave changers need a brush, and just while I'm here, I'll probably take that off actually, and give the switches a proper douse of switch cleaner. I'll pop a little bit in there now anyway. Give it a head start, but I will take off the switch bank and clean that nice and manually. Right, so next we have a 470. Just get those solder points. Give that one a test with the peak. So this is a 470 at 6.3 volts. .744. That's way off. So what did I say? It's a 470. Get that small cap onto the board. Physically small. I do like to use axials, but I don't have any. And this radio doesn't have, and won't really ever have any massive value. I do already have somebody in mind for this one as a gift. I'm sure they won't be looking inside. In fact, I'm pretty certain they won't be looking inside. apologies if this is turning out to be the most boring video in the world, but just recording a repair on a Roberts Rambler for posterity, for my own purposes really. If you're along for the ride and you're enjoying it, it's fine. Give that a go as well. So I do like to test as we go along.
Anyone interested in representing 85088? That is dominated by bullying.
5 Live already sounds a bit stronger. Yep, so we're still good. I just don't like to go along blindly, not knowing whether we are still good or not. Looking at this last cap, and well, it's not the last, it's the second to last cap for its location, and I'm pretty sure that's it there. Fabulous tool, this desolder, Dura tool, can't remember the model number. I think it cost me £35 from Farnell, and they were having a clearance. That's broke that one. Don't even think I'll get the crock on that one. $140 UF, that's coming up at. It should be 100, it's not a million miles out. Got the 100 here. Just noticed as well, we've got some bridge wires that aren't bridged, and we've got possibly a lifted trace as well. A different area of the board. Going to pause and come back to you shortly. I need a comfort break. See you soon. And we're back. I've had my comfort break. I'm back for the next cap, which is a 10 UF at 25 volts. Let's quickly test that one. I don't know why I'm trying to do it single-handed. Ooh, that wasn't good. 25 and it's 13, it's a little bit high. ESR's good. But we'll change it anyway. We're sitting down now. That's good. As I mentioned previously, this essential tremor thing of mine does create a few problems when I'm soldering, depending how bad it is on any given day. It determines which radio I try and fix. One more cap to go, and that is a 63 volt 2.2. I really don't think I have any of those. I don't even think I have anything similar. That's the closest I've got. That's one UF at 100 volts. Some 4 UF at 63 volts, but this is 2.2, so I don't have one. I've tested that in circuit and it is alright, so I'm going to leave that. I'll just give the plate a clean inside. More than a cursory wipe. It's not particularly dirty inside. That's just one of the cleanest original Ramblers I've seen for a good long while. Get the brush, get the dust. Pop a bit of switch cleaner into the top of the volume pot and through the hole on the inside of the volume pot. Put the switch top back on and just work it around several times. And you'll start to feel it immediately free up and not be as sticky, but you still need to work it several times just to get the contact cleaner fluid around the traces inside the switch. I do on occasion take these switches completely apart and clean them manually, but this wasn't a problem, this one anyway. Just doing this as a cursory. So there we go, and put the switch top back off. Right, those wave changers, do I or don't I remove them and clean them? Or do I just put some switch cleaner down them? We'll go for plan B. Put some switch cleaner down them and work them several times. Also keep it vertical, that helps gravity. A little smidge of my caustic cleaner on those switch tops. Because they are very yellow. They're lovely now. Just give them a white round on the outside. I usually take these off and clean them, but it was just visually unappealing at first. You see what's come off there. That's just off the switch tops. Take off my test speaker and we'll start to pop the thing back together. Peak out of the way. Test speaker out of the way. Screwdriver. I always start off with the intention of being completely and utterly tidy. Right, I do need, because I've got, they're the original ones that came with it, that one will clean up okay, but that I need either a silver top or another switch. Like it's going to be the silver top, because that's really loose. Physically identical size. Yeah, that's too loose. We'll get there eventually. It looks like I'm going to have to pop the silver cap off the top of it, and that's not one of my favourite jobs. I've got one there already, but that's physically too big. By Jove, I think I found one. It's a little mashed up on the inside. Trying to match. It's slightly different. Yeah, it is. It's a physically slightly different size. So it looks like I'm going to have to pop a silver switch top off. Not my favourite job. These things usually fall off until you need them, and then they just don't want to play at all. If they're on, they're on. This one might need a little persuasion. Working the whole way around, trying not to damage the trim. Like I say, if these things fall off, they're fine. You know, they're absolutely perfect, but you try and take one off without bending it, and then you start to find problems. The adhesive on this one is really quite good. spudger underneath. Sorry you can't see what I'm doing at the moment. But normal service will be resumed shortly. Yeah, I have bent that a little bit bigger. Just physically doesn't fit anyway. Hey-ho. I may have to go for plan B or C here. Just change both of them for similar ones. Very close. Massive ones on. What's that one? Let's try those. Too loose on that one, and too loose on that one. Not having a lot of luck here. I'm going to pause and come back in a moment after I've had a sort through the switches that I've got, and catch you in a moment. And we're back. I found a couple of very similar ones. They're not the original ones, sadly. I'm putting some of my caustic cleaner onto the switch top, and that will bring them up lovely, well, as lovely as they can get again. They've 50 odd years worth of skin and stuff on them. And this screw fix cleaner, like I've kept mentioning, is particularly good. It's quite universal, really. See what's coming off onto the cloth there. I have soaked these things the control knobs, not these particular ones, but different ones. Soaking is the best thing for them. And the other one that takes a much longer time is reaming out each individual corrugation on the knobs, but they're so time consuming. So soaking and brushing is the best thing. So I've just done those couple with that, done that couple there. Worked really well. Anyway, you get the gist of it. I think if they're clean off, I'll give those a soak at a later date. Dry up the cleaner. and see what it actually does to the switch tops. And this is, again, it's the screw fix cleaner that I use quite a lot. And if I just compare it, I've done the one on the right and the one on the left still a little bit grubby. So the one on the left, I'll just do the switch top. Goggles, safety goggles is probably a good idea as well. You sometimes get a little bit of splashback if you're using the spray cleaner. That's why I think I'll pop some one day into a dropper bottle. It'll be a much safer way to do it. Right, I've rambled on a little bit too long there. I'll pop the gloves off now, because I'm just going to pop it back in the case. As I say, I do have to tend to the grille. I'll come to that at a later point as well. But just before I put the radio back in, I'll just clean the insides where the radio is actually going to sit back in at the top. I should have left my gloves on really. See immediately what comes off. And again. And then the other side. There we go. About 60 years worth of DNA. I will tend to the outside of the case at a later date. It's just because I'm going to drop that radio back in. Clean the other slide. I did do one of them. 99% cleaning, 1% fixing. It really, really is fab stuff for cleaning. Just a quick wipe takes loads of grub and grime, filth and detritus. It makes them look instantly better. I've quite rambled on with this video. It's one of those videos that's ended up being a watch me clean this radio. And I've recapped the board, which has also reminded me that I do need to order some new caps, axials, which aren't the cheapest ones in the world now, but off with a dry cloth now, and that should be lovely and shiny again, and not so very yellow. Yeah, that's good, that looks a lot better. Right, amazing what's actually coming off the blue back in there as well. I'm going to give that a proper do, I think. Move the needle out of the way. Show you in a moment how much filth has come off this, off the blue dial backing. There. Put the legend back over, which already looks massively better. I'm really pleased with how that's come up. Again, these control knobs I will tend to at a later date. I'll soak them overnight. Still a little bit yellow, these I can see. So they'll need another going over as well. Come on, play nicely. And line up the chassis stays. So let this sit over those screws. Smaller implement. That's that one. And that one. There we go. And reattach the speaker. A heck of a long speaker wire this, considering it's about 1.5 inches away from the speaker. The speaker cable in this is perhaps 12 inches long. On temporary because they were loose originally as well, so I'll just put those on temporary for the moment, just for testing purposes. Pop the battery on. And let's have a listen. I'll turn off the soldering pump. So yeah, it's this blinking speaker wires again. They do fit on, they're just not quite snug enough. They're already coming off again. Right, I'll put my pliers in and see. Yeah, that's better.
Is that pressure, I know from friends going to weddings, if you have a wedding coming up, that you wouldn't necessarily wear the dress that you wore to a previous wedding?
Not just the bottom 2, but the bottom 3, which is synonymous with a playoff spot.
I was one of the first.
Really?
Well, when I...
Away.
I would, yeah.
I'll try it on long as well.
I told him no, I had asked him what he came to it, and he did say yes.
Sorry, you asked something about it.
Yeah, so we are good actually.
Drinking pubs nationwide. 18 plus drink aware.
We're tending to the grill next and the knobs on
Did
the
you know
top.
that winning postcodes are announced every single day with People's
Put the,
Postcode Lottery?
Robert's logo
Only
off
paying
and give that a
postcodes are
clean,
entered, so the prizes are
clean
always
right
won.
seam.
It costs just £10 a
Do the
month
teat
to
cheeks.
play in all draws. Join in
And
with your
then
postcode
jobs are
to
good,
play at
so I'll build it back
postcodelottery.co.uk. PPO managed
Catch
lotteries
you
on
in the
behalf
next
of good
one,
causes.
part
Players must
2.
be over 16. Terms and
Thanks very much.
conditions apply. Please play responsibly.
I'm back again. I got the radio back together. Like I say, I'm going to attend to the cleaning of the switches. Sorry, the knobs on the top. I'm going to soak them at a later date. But I managed to take the grill off. You can see what sort of a state it's in. But you might also be able to see I've got some neon green strips on there. And what that is, it's how I do the... It's how I refurb the grill, as it were. I have some 2mm wide masking tape, and I just take a length of it, well, on the roll, and just roll it out, leave a little bit of excess over the end to fold over at the other side, and then tack it down there and then run it all the way down the silver strip, keeping it as straight as you possibly can. Run a finger down the grill, chop off the excess at the other end, leaving a little bit left to fold over at the end. Got several more of these to do, 6 more to do. Try and keep you in shot for some of these. But 2mm masking tape. I got this from Amazon, 5 rolls for a couple of quid. And I've done a few radios with this, and I've still got 4.5 rolls left. So it's really quite economical, really, to do. I mean, these grills can look all sorts of states when you get them in. I mean, this one's particularly bad, but with a little bit of 2mm masking tape and a little bit of patience when you're popping it on, they can wind up looking just as, almost as close to as good as new as you can possibly get. And then just spray it with some matte black paint. I have got a small amount of matte black left from a previous job, and I think for a 400ml can, I think it was only £1.50 from my local hardware store. It's obviously, for £1.50 it's nothing absolutely fantastic, but the result that you get from using it is absolutely fantastic. So, and it just brings these back up to looking as close to their best as they're ever going to do again. I've done these grills in all sorts of different ways previously, but this is by far and away the easiest way to go about it. I've painted them by hand before, and that is particularly time consuming. Obviously I've saved doing that for one that's absolutely worth it. But I've painted them by hand, by eye, and then I just happened across, while I was looking for some normal size masking tape, this appeared, and I measured the width of the silver, and it's absolutely bang on 2mm. So 2mm masking tape on Amazon. Anybody wants some, let me know and I'll send you the link for the for my actual purchase from the same seller. It's fab stuff because it's kind of a neon green colour and it stands out from the black, so you can see if you've got it straight enough when it goes on, you know, it contrasts really quite well. So that's all of those done. I'm just going to tuck those over at the end, just fold them underneath, and that helps. If you leave a leg long enough, that helps for taking the masking tape off once you've painted it. Now, I'm not going to paint this grill obviously in the workshop, I'm going to do that outside, but depending on the weather, because it is raining at the moment, depending on the weather, we'll see how long that will take us. So I'll be back again in a moment with what might look like a brand new grill. See you soon. And I'm back. I've been outside in between it raining, and there's the grill. I've still got the tape on at the other side, so I'm going to pick away at that and peel it off. What I've actually done to speed things up a little this time, brought it in. Usually I leave it an hour or so to dry, but what I've actually done is I've got a craft heat gun that I use just for heat shrink, and I've dried the paint. So you'll get to see this in all its glory at the same time that I do. As I say, for the sake of a couple of pounds for that 2mm masking tape and the value that you get from that, absolutely one of the best things that you can do for these grills, because this is a 60s radio, so it's been knocking around for 60 years. So it's bound to have a few battle scars. I'm getting close to that now as well. You know, I've got a few battle scars, you know, haven't we all? But it's the fiddliest bit, because when you take it off, it sticks to your fingers and your thumbs when you're trying to drop it into the trash. It's not perfect, but it's very close. As you can see, we're getting there. God, that one wouldn't come off my fingers and thumbs. do have, like I said as well earlier, I do have somebody in mind for this one that particularly likes listening to 5 Live. And now that it's been recapped, little tiny bits of overspray onto the silver, but nothing like it used to be. So get the radio, get the edge trims, I'll give those a clean as well. Here we go with cleaning again. These trims were particularly gunked up with all sorts of sticky, nasty 60-odd-year-old DNA, and it really does make me cringe. So I'll just give those a wipe over. And we bob the grill back on. I have flattened this as you know, the very best that I can. It's never going to be perfectly flat again. But it's very close. And the last of the trims. Such a simple way to put these grills in. It's, you know, I really like this pressure fit system thing. Just press it all the way along, and then doesn't that look much better? So I've got those switches to do. I will polish up the Rexine, polish up the handle. The dial plate's done. The Roberts logo is a little bit goldy coloured. Never seen one goldy coloured, but that's on the inside. Nothing I can do about that. But then these also look a little bit goldy coloured, even though I've cleaned them. So maybe it kind of was like that. I've got the teak cheeks to do. I've stripped one end here with my Screwfix no nonsense heavy duty degreaser. And I haven't done that side, just so you could see the difference. So I will do both sides of that and put a couple of coats of, I think I'll use teak oil on this, and it's the cheap teak oil. Nothing expensive. I bought this, 151 teak oil. I've used this. I bought 2 tins of this about 3 years ago, and this is the second tin and it's still half full. Paid £1 each for these from our local hardware shop, and brilliant stuff really. Not as shiny a finish as Danish oil, but nevertheless really very good. So I will crack on and do those things and be back shortly. Catch you soon. We're back, and ta-da! Beautiful. So I've done the teak ends, done the teak base, polished the Rexine, cleaned the dial plate, cleaned 60 years worth of fingerprints and finger skin and all other manner of 60-year-old DNA from the volume and tuning knobs. Cleaned the dial plate. Beautifully clean, lovely now. Obviously inside I've recapped it, tested it, everything seems to check out okay. The only thing that I can't really test in the workshop is the long wave. I am just in a dead spot where I am. If I take it up to the house it'll work, because I do get some weaker stations on here. However, shall we have a listen? What do you think? Yeah, go on then.
the CD, and did I mention that? I'll mention it again.
This is on medium wave.
But I loved it so much. I think I watched 2 episodes back to back, and they're quite long, so I was quite shriveled by the end of that bath. But it's got Natasha Leo.
Very loud now.
Oh my God, she's
Simple as just saying, well, this is morally wrong, which of course, obviously, it's not ideal.
Well, I'll have a read in. And then hopefully some of the text that you say while living in team.
Or indeed the wiring at the new ground. And I saw a photo in the...
Across the UK, this Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
And these are the stations that I wasn't able to pick up previously, like Absolute. I'm really quite pleased. We'll pop it onto Longwave and give it a go.
they're training for next Saturday in the Phoenix Park, and this was a popular choice.
We can't pick up an awful lot here. If I took it up to the house, I'd be able to pick up all sorts of things on Longwave. Not many, 2 or 3, but I've just got at the top end there on 12.15. But nevertheless, so again, just to recap, got a lovely beautiful grille on there now, all refurbed, cleaned the brights, the tuning and volume knobs, the wave change, that's been cleaned inside, the dial plate has had 60 years worth of grime removed, polished the Rexine, done the teak cheeks, polished the back, even T-coiled the bottom plate after I cleaned it, recapped it inside. It's just one cap I couldn't do because I hadn't got any, but I lifted a leg up on it, tested it, and it checked out fine anyway, so I'm happy to leave that one as is. More axials on order. The caps that I took out checked out kind of alright. They were on the high side. Normal ESR, no high ESRs, no fails. They were just high on the voltage sides. But yeah, done, dusted, love it. Compared to how that arrived, I'm absolutely over the moon with that. A nice original Roberts Rambler. There we are. Catch you for the next one, which might be either a 404 or a 200. Let me know what you'd like to see in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do. Bye for now.